Sadaqallah Mawlana al-Azim. The verse which I have recited today from Surah Baqarah chapter 2, verse number 168. And the topic, Islamic concept of Halal and Tayyab. Here in this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded His prophets, Kulu mimma fil ard, eat of earth, whatever is halalan, is lawful, tayyiban, and tayyib, pure. Ya ayyuhan nasu kulu mimma fil ard. Here, the both are verses very close, and we will discuss. One is verse number 172 and one verse number 168. 168 to the public, Ya ayyuhan nas, and 172, Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu kulu min tayyibati ma razaqnakum washkuru lillah in kuntum iyyahu ta'budun. So the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya ayyuhan nas, to the people. Kulu mimma fil ardi halalan tayyiba. Eat whatever is permissible, whatever is pure, whatever is lawful. Wala tattabi'u khutuwati shaitan, and do not follow the footstep of Satan. Innahu lakum aduwwun mubin. He is your open, clear and declared enemy. Innama ya'murukum bis-su'i wal-fahsha. So the duty of shaitan and the purpose of shaitan, he will direct you to evil and indecency. وَأَن تَقُولُوا عَلَى اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ, and say things about Allah which you don't know. And in the further verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that when they were commanded to follow what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed, they say, we follow what we have seen and what we have learned from our fathers and forefathers. So the message starts, Kulu mimma fil ardi halalan tayyiba. And then the verse number 172 again, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kulu minat tayyibati ma razaqnakum washkuru lillah. After commanding to eat whatever is tayyib, be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in kuntum iyyahu ta'budun. So how you will show your gratitude and thankfulness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? The best way to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and not associate anyone with Him. So the concept of halal and tayyib in Islam is not only limited to food. It's a very comprehensive subject. Halal and tayyib. Even the 5 pillars of Islam, the kalimat tawheed, la ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah. You know, initially in our subcontinent, the first kalima is called kalimat tayyib. Kalima tayyib. जब बच्चे थे तो मिलके पढ़ते थे, पहला कलमा तय्यब. तय्यब माने पाक, ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह मुहम्मद रसूलुल्लाह. So the purity in your faith, the concept of halal and tayyib and the purity, it is start from your faith. When you not associate anyone with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is essential. So that's why we have to understand the concept of halal and tayyib. So the first kalima, the kalimat tawheed, is kalimat tayyib. When you purify your faith, you purify your mind and heart from all the dirt of associating anyone with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and completely submitting yourself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second, after kalimat shahada or kalimat tayyib, is salat min al-a'mal. The first action is of amal is salat. And salat, when you read the book of salat, all the books start with tahara, means purity. At-tayyib, tahara, purity. Kitab tahara means the concept of salat, to stand in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to submit yourself. So the highest level of submission in a form of salat, you will never perform this one without achieving this purity. So this concept of purity is not limited with food. In everything, right from ideology, from your thoughts, from your faith, from your aqidah, the most important part, salat, is not acceptable. And min shara'it is salat at-tahara, at-taharatul badan, purity of yourself. Taharatul libas, purity of your wearing and cloth. Taharatul makan, the place where you are worshipping, so the purity. You can see you are worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yunaji rabba. But look at the condition with this conversation. To start this, the purity and tahara is required here. The place should be pure. Whatever you are wearing, it should be. And physically you should be pure. So with all these taharatul badan, taharatul libas, wa taharatul makan, now you are standing in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and fulfill other condition and say Allahu Akbar takbir tahrim. Fasting, what is fasting? When you go in detail, the hikmah of fasting is taharatul badan wa taharatul ruh. So see, all these basic act of worship, the basic philosophy of all these, you will never achieve the high level of ibadah to be accepted in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without this concept of purity, which Allah says, kulu minat tayyibat, not the purity of food. So salat itself without tahara and purity is not accepted. The whole concept of fasting, taharatul badani wa ruh, you know, the MOT of physical MOT and spiritual MOT of your mind, of your heart, of your soul. And then go to the mal, as zakat minat tazkiyah. What is the concept of zakat? Again, purification of your mal. So see, zakat, purification of your mal. Fasting, purification of your body, your soul, your mind. Salat is not accepted without basic condition of tahara. Taharatul badani wal libas wal makan. So in all these things, what is the message? That the Islamic concept of halal and tayyab and tahara and purity is not only limited to what you are consuming, but what you are eating. It start from your faith, start from your aqidah, and all the way down to every single aspect of your life. And we have just only limited with food. And in food, we have further limited it. And this is how we are playing in the head of shaitan. And I mentioned this before, if you remember, that the people are very curious about reading the ingredients and about these E code and so code, this code and that code. And some people are even completely confused. First of all, this is not the exact criteria with all these codes. There are so many confusion. There are some says this code is halal, the other say no, this code is haram. Some says actually the basic thing are the ingredients. But with all this game of the ingredients, look at the basic concept. What you are consuming, it is very good. You care about it. And here say kulu mimma fil ardi halalan tayyiba. But at the same time, you have limited with only what you eat and what you drink. But have you ever thought that the Islamic concept of tayyib, Islamic concept of halal, Islamic concept of purity extend to your finance, how you are earning? And to make it very easy to explain it, that not only what you are eating and what you are buying in the shop, you can read all the ingredients, but whatever you are paying, You look at all the detail and ingredients and all the codes, and you made satisfied with yourself and your children that this is halal. But the money you are taking out of your pocket, this pound is halal or not? The source of your income, for what you are paying for this to consume it. So here we are very curious. But in this side, are we curious? Are we concerned in the same way, the way we are concerned about the ingredients in the shop? And we are every day fighting with butchers, every day fighting in hotels, and asking things, do this and do that. And even some people going to the level of madness. There is a clear hadith of the Prophet ﷺ from Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu ta'ala anha. And she said, when the people came, inna qawman hadithu ahadin bil Islam, ya'tunana bil uhmanin, and these people bring meat. فَلَا نَدْرِي أَذَكَرُ اسْمَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهَا أَمْ لَمْ يَذْكُرُ عَلَيْهَا. And we don't know, these are new people, newly Muslim. They don't know the basic of Islam. So when they bring meat, we don't know whether they have slaughtered it with tasmiyah or not. So we have a doubt. Actually, this was the time of the Sahaba and who they are asking the Prophet ﷺ. It just reminds me, the people nowadays, they are very curious about it. So Sahaba asking who? The Prophet ﷺ. That the people are newly Muslim, and they don't know the full ahkam. And this hadith mentioned in Bukhari with the bi-ikhtilaf in Yasir. And many other muhaddithin mention it. Afana'kulu. So we don't know whether they are slaughtering animal properly or not. They are mentioning the name of Allah on it or not. Shall we eat it? So what was the response of the Prophet ﷺ? Sammullah wa kulu. Mention the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and eat it. So what is the message? When you do in detail, the muhaddithin said that this is a guidance from the Prophet ﷺ. Do not be suspicious all the time. Zannul mu'minina khaira. You should not start your journey always with doubt, always suspicious. If someone is saying something, you have to accept the face value. Unless or until it's proven wrong, then it's a different thing. But if you start everything with doubt and go to the level where honestly, it is not exactly Islamic attitude and Islamic manners. And this is not only in eating and drinking, in everything, in all your relation with your wife, relation with your children, relation with your friends, relation with your families. This is the key and message. That if you always base your relation on full of doubt, normally say, "Eh, the chair is fradiya like that." Normally we say or not. So that you give us your decision. You look at his face and you say, he looks very dodgy. Have you dealt with him? Have you seen him? Have you talked to him? So from where you get this akhbarul ghaib? This is the attitude. This is the unacceptable behavior in Islam for any relation, not only for eating and drinking. And this hadith is the evidence. And even the Quran in Surah Hujurat says, "Ishtanibu kathiran min az-zann." Always full of doubt, always thinking about people wrong. You have one precedent and you are applying to everyone. You heard something, the cousin have done something to someone wrong, and everyone in your family, your cousin, are full of doubt. You heard the news of wife done something wrong with husband, and now you make a precedent and you start, whoever has the title of wife, you start applying to it. The children have done this and you start applying to it. This is not purity, this is not taqwa, this is a sick mind. You need a psychiatrist. You don't need the alim and faqih to give you masail. Sometimes, honestly, whatever we call religion in Islam is basically related to doctors, related to psychiatrists, related to them to go and get some medicine or some advice from them. So this attitude, so the basic concept of halal and haram, first of all, is applied everywhere. The tayyab, the concept of tayyab, start from your faith, from your aqeedah, from your aqaid, from your a'mal, from your action, and then your finance, and then your relation in society. All these are very important. If you understand this wider concept of Islam, of tayyab, of halal, of tahara, then you will never be confused. Otherwise, we will be playing in the head of shaitan. Some areas, I am very concerned about it, to the level of sickness, to the level of madness. But on the same time, the other, same message from Allah, same guidance from Quran, I completely ignore it. And the simple example of this attitude is, reading ingredients is one level of looking for halal and haram. But your finance source of income, which you are spending to consume these things, is another aspect. Are you concerned about this second aspect as you are concerned about the first aspect? If you are not concerned about these two, then you are playing in the hand of shaitan. You are just satisfying your own ego. In reality, you are not following strictly the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Otherwise, there won't be any difference for you. As this one is made halal and haram by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the same the financial aspect is made halal and haram by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So why you are so curious and so concerned about this aspect and not about this aspect? If this is law made by anyone else than Allah, again, your family relation, you're dealing with other people, where is the concept of halal and haram? This concept of halal and haram extend to your behavior, your personal life. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made halal, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made haram. Are you following the same rule of halal and haram, permissible, not permissible, and tayyab and non-tayyab in your behavior, attitude in the society, with your family, with your children? If you are applying all these things and understand this concept of tayyab, this concept of permissible, this concept of lawful, this concept of halal, this concept of purity in all these various aspects, then is congratulations. Alhamdulillah, you are the obedient servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if you make your own criteria of priorities, then it is your own ego. This is your own nafs. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to follow the footstep of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, and to follow the commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all these various aspects of our life, whether it is halal and haram, whether it is permissible and non-permissible, whether it is tayyab and not tayyab, not only in one specific area, in all areas of our life these are applied. Give us tawfiq to understand it and apply it in our life, of every aspect of our life. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah.